I actually slept really well last night. I had a good day. Things were positive. I just went grocery shopping. Um, you know, had a good lunch. Actually finished my meal. Um, but, you know, whether things are good or bad, I feel like I should practice. What do you think, Sam? Sam, let me know what you think, Sam.
Here's the thing. There is.
Oh, okay. Shit.
It sort of depends on where where you're situated. I think ideologically,
Obviously.
as to
They changed the time codes, so this might take a little bit, but
What?
go ahead.
What are you talking about?
so this sort of depends
Okay.
on where you may sit ideologically in terms of your assessment of
Okay.
the extent of the differences between
Yeah, let's talk
Warren and
ideology,
Bernie,
man.
at least in the
It's all good.
context of domestic policy.
Warren and
Right,
Bernie?
the-
Oh my god.
In even if you put aside the questions of their approach to actually their actual practical approach to change, they may come to similar destinations. They do it from different places in terms of what is what direction they're heading from. I think obviously Warren is more about reform of an existing system. Sanders, probably to less of an extent than he will be accused of, but to some extent is looking to make some structural changes.
Yeah.
That
That's why I like it.
that as opposed to sort of containing certain problems, he wants to change it and hopefully eliminate those problems in
Yes.
terms of
Exactly.
the way that markets work and et cetera.
He
et
wants to
cetera.
get rid of what's wrong.
But
not just
nevertheless,
change
the
it.
value of having both of them in a debate addressing major issues in which they at least on broad strokes agree, I think is invaluable. It is
Yeah.
always better
No,
to
I
have
agree.
two people saying something than one person saying something.
It's true.
And so here's Elizabeth Warren, and I think she is particularly good at this. Now, Bernie Sanders has made it clear, I think, and introduced the country largely to the understanding of we're going to have to raise taxes, but the amount that we raise taxes is going to be less than the amount you are currently spending on healthcare.
Exactly.
When you include premiums, co-pays, when you include whatever it is. Whatever else comes between premiums and co-pays and things that aren't covered.
You're totally right. So, no, I'm going to stop you right there, Sam. So, that was Sam Cedar of the Majority Report. Stoked to have him on my show. He's my hero. He's the guy who I really... you could just watch his show instead of my show and get a better grasp of everything. But, you got to aspire. So I appreciate him lending his material to my show, even though it's just a practice, so you can't even call it a show, you can't say it was bad, and you can't sue me for using your equipment without asking, Sam. I don't even care. So, what he said there, and what's important about that, besides the fact that this is a practice and that I'm Xander, and I'm just practicing, so you can't say that this is bad. You can't really even say it's wrong. I guess unless you disagree and you think for yourself. But what he said was Bernie Sanders has been, and Elizabeth Warren, to her credit, have been good at explaining that it's about... Yes, your taxes will go up a little bit under this plan, but your health care will go down so much. The bill for your health care will go down so much that it will make up for the taxes. I thought that this made perfect sense to anybody who just had the plan explained to them, but I guess that's what Joe Biden during the debate and a lot of the other centrists have been trying to do to deflect with is oh, we're going to get rid of your insurance so that the government can do the insurance. Yeah, no, the government's just going to pay for it, and you're chill. You just don't worry about it. Is the entire point. So I wouldn't normally do a third post in a week like this, but I had a conversation with a friend today. I just decided to get some tacos and a margarita and try to take it easy. And somebody who I almost never hear from or talk to decided to hit me up and debate or argue one of my Facebook posts promoting Bernie Sanders. And they weren't being hateful, and they're a good friend of mine. I love them. I told them I love them, I value them, and that we need to have these conversations so we can understand each other, so that we can come to a logical conclusion. I'm not going to name who they are, because they're a professional, they work in the city, and I don't want to throw them under the bus. I don't want any cancel culture shit to happen, even though I have like 5 friends who listen to this at the max. But this is the issue that we're facing right now, is actually convincing centrists and convincing people who don't understand politics why this politician is unique and special, and why Bernie Sanders is such a big deal. So what it started with, forgive me for taking a breath there, I got a little upset. So it started, my friend took personal offense because I was making an example out of Jeff Bezos, as I am prone to do. He is the richest man in the world, and he still pays his employees the bare minimum. He pays them as little as he can get away with. And my friend kept insisting that because she worked for him, I guess I didn't even ask where. I feel like an asshole now, but whether it was at Amazon or Whole Foods, she told me that because he hires at $15 an hour, he's not responsible for all the problems that are associated with being the billionaire who hoards $150 billion and only pays the minimum, by the way. Doesn't pay the actual living wage, doesn't pay an actual fair share of what his employees earn for him. He just pays the absolute bare minimum. So and my friend says, it's not Jeff Bezos' fault for choosing to not pay people as much as they're worth. It's the government's fault for not changing the laws to force him to pay these people. And I'm like, well, okay, so that's exactly my point. I'm advocating for voting for Bernie Sanders, who is going to change the laws. And that was the funny thing. That's when we finally had to laugh and shake hands and do a little. This is all over Facebook text messages, so it's not like we were actually talking. But I had to give them a little pat on the back, like, hey, we're still buds. We agree. It's that I want to change the government to punish Jeff Bezos, and you want to change the government to punish Jeff Bezos. And we had to laugh about that when we came to that conclusion.
Your old laptop, there's constant updates, patches.
So I wrote a bunch of notes about things. Bill Nye is trying to sell me a laptop right now. Hold on. Wow. Bill Nye. Go buy his laptop at Walmart. Fuck. Don't do that. The Disney scientist wants you to buy a laptop from Walmart. You must need some cash. This is what I get for using free Facebook music, YouTube music, instead of just playing records in the background. Whatever, it's just practice. You can't even say it's bad. It's not. It's just practice. It doesn't matter. If you like it, I'm glad you do. And if you don't like it, it's fine, because I'm just practicing, you know? And I'm gonna be better someday, so I don't even care. So anyway, my friend who inspired this conversation told me that because Jeff Bezos employs so many people at $15 an hour, he is no longer culpable for the travesty of hoarding $100 billion that he doesn't fucking need, $150 billion that he doesn't fucking need. And so I decided to do a little bit of math. And this is math that I did while drinking margaritas and eating tacos and barely paying attention. And I'm pretty sure I did the math wrong. But just assuming these numbers are correct, it's still absurd. I googled how many people work for Amazon and Whole Foods, and it's 738,500 people. That's like 1% of the American population. But you probably know a few people. It's a big enough number that you probably know a few people who have worked for them or will work for them, So if just for the sake of argument, if Jeff Bezos woke up tomorrow morning and decided to give all of his workers an even share of his $100 billion when he has $150 billion, he would be able to continue living his lifestyle the way he wants to, because he would still have $50 billion. He would still have he would have $50 million 100 times. That's what that means. It's such a huge amount of money that he can't spend it all in his life if he wants to, and his children can't spend it in their lifetimes, and neither can their children. It's like after maybe 5 generations, they would run out of money. So he doesn't need it. He's just sitting on it, and it just sits there in his bank account doing nothing. If he gave it to his workers, if he just woke up tomorrow and said, my workers get it, there would be 738,500 people who get a $1,350 bonus to their paycheck tomorrow. If you know anybody who works for these companies, including the one who is ruining my video with their ad right now, got that skip ad button, don't worry. If you ask any Amazon or Whole Foods employees if they would like to have $1,350 tomorrow, none of them would say no. And they would all know exactly what to spend it on. A car payment, house rent, groceries, even just a nice dinner. They would go out and spend it, and they would stimulate the economy, and they would get things moving. Which, when it sits in Jeff Bezos' bank account, when it sits in any billionaire's bank account, that money doesn't do anything. It just sits there. So, that's what we're advocating for when we talk about taxing the rich in socialism. It's so that we can hire people and get that money to work in the economy instead of sitting in a bank account. And half the time it's in an offshore bank account. It's in somewhere like Panama where they don't... Oh my god. I didn't even write about that. That's a whole other fucking topic. So, that example is if one billionaire divided his money up amongst the people that he directly exploits for his money. I did some rough math earlier. And again, this was just me trying to prove points for this stupid podcast. And none of this is set in stone. And these aren't even policies I'm advocating. They're just examples that I'm proposing to people. I quickly looked up the richest people in America on Google and on Wikipedia. And 6 of them had more than $50 billion. And that, again, 50 billion, big B billion dollars. If you have that much money, it doesn't matter if you have 50 or 150 or 80-50. It's you have so much fucking money that you are ridiculous. You're literally ridiculous just by existing if you have that much fucking money. So, just for the sake of argument, if we took the excess money, if we took everything above $50 billion from the people who have more money than that, where did I wrote that down somewhere around here. So if we did that nationwide, everybody would get $600 just injected into their pocket. So, if you're like me, where you're middle class and you've got enough money in the bank where $600 would be cool but not a big deal for you, and you think that I just made a bullshit point, you're a callous, heartless bastard, because there are people on every street corner in every city in the United States begging for spare change, begging for a sandwich. If you give each one of those cats $600, you're going to say some asshole remark like they're going to spend it all on drugs. And you know what? Yeah, they might buy a hit of drugs because they are on the streets and they sleep in a fucking gutter. And fuck you for shaming them, because I know you drink and smoke pot too, you asshole. But they're also going to buy themselves dinner. They might get themselves a hotel room. They might start putting themselves on a path towards actually doing well for themselves. And when they do well for themselves, they're doing well for society. Okay? If you are so heartless to think that I don't need $600, I don't want to pay higher taxes, and that these people don't deserve any love or support, just don't listen to my show, because you're an asshole and you're wrong. You're fucking wrong. And you should eat smart food, white cheddar popcorn, because you're an asshole and you're stupid and you're wrong. Sorry, YouTube. I just hate you and I'm trying to listen to music. But my point still stands. These people are hoarding wealth. They're hoarding money. They have multiple houses. multiple yachts. Elon Musk is shooting race cars into outer space just to try to convince people that he's that fucking cool. And people in my income bracket, people who in my class are getting mad at me for saying they need to pay more taxes. And so my point is, the 1%, Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates and Elon Musk and similar assholes, it's like less than 100 people. It's not everybody who owns a business. It's not everybody who employs somebody. It's not everybody who is a boss or a manager. It's not your uncle who owns the pizza shop. It's not your aunt who's a lawyer. It's not your mom who is the manager of a cool company who has a billionaire boss above her. It's that billionaire boss. It's that Chris Rock quote about the guy who, Shaquille O'Neal, Michael Jordan, those guys are rich. But the guy who is wealthy is the guy who signs their checks. That's where my crosshairs are. I don't want to raise your taxes. I want to raise his taxes. These people talk about minimum wage can't go up any higher, and they pay themselves hundreds of thousands of dollars per hour. Some of these people make millions of dollars a year. Admittedly, on the low end of the CEO spectrum, you're only making $350,000, $100,000 every year. So you only become a millionaire every 4 years under that salary. And so I have good reason to be mad at capitalists. Because they choose to hoard that much money. They're the ones in charge of their businesses. They could all decide tomorrow to pay $30, $40, $50 an hour, and it would change society. It would change the economy. Debts would be paid. Car loans would be paid off. Houses would be bought. Toys for kids. Big fancy dinners for couples. It would all happen. But they decide to keep the money every single day. They decide to hold on to it. So, my friend keeps saying, or kept saying, I should say, that I shouldn't be mad at the people who decide, who make that decision. I shouldn't be mad at the people who say, I could spend this money, but I don't want to, so I won't. I should be mad at the government for not making those people spend the money. And I had to be like, yeah, no. That's why this is a post about why you should vote for Bernie Sanders. Because he's the only one who wants to take it to the corporate class. Elizabeth Warren doesn't even want to take it at the corporate class. And I love her. I think she's great. She's A tier if you listen to episode 4. But Bernie is the only one who says no. Fuck them. Fuck them and their money. So don't get mad at the government for not punishing the capitalists, especially when the government is all corrupt cronies of those capitalists, and the fucking president is Donald Trump, who is the ultimate crony of those capitalists. So, if you want real change, if you want real health care, if you want people to be able to afford to live in your town, if you want to be able to go to McDonald's and get fast service, guess what? If the workers are on time, well fed and well paid and happy to be there and working, they're going to make your food better and they're going to make it on time. So vote for fucking Bernie Sanders. It's that simple. The Republicans are wrong. The Democrats are wrong. The centrists don't have an opinion. And when a centrist acts like they have an opinion, I need to make sure they know they don't. And my friend knows who they are, and they know that it's all love and respect. But the math doesn't add up. And the facts don't add up. And if you don't support Bernie Sanders, you want the rich to stay rich, and you want the poor to starve to death. And that's real. That's all there is to it. So, this was just a practice. This is Xander. Most of the music was by Ghostmain tonight. I don't know, I'm just stealing shit from YouTube. You can't say it was bad, it was just a practice.
She got blood on my grandma flow. Bitch, I'm drinking gold supply head to toe. Y'all was sleeping, now I want you damn close. Yeah, my chick goes to do some damn girl. We tag teaming like we wrestle for the belt.